cannot reach, and when English highwaymen and housebreakers are the most celebrated in the world. Moreover, that Mexican robbers are never unnecessarily cruel, and in fact are very easily moved to compassion. This last assertion may occasionally hold good, but their cruelties to travellers are too well known to bear him out in it as a general remark. As a proof of their occasional moderation, I may mention that the ladies of the F a family, at the time of their emigration, were travelling from Mexico with a padre, when they were met by a party of robbers or insurgents who stopped the coach and commenced pillaging. Amongst other articles of value, they seized a number of silver dishes. The padre observed to them that as this plate did not belong to the ladies, but was lent them by a friend, they would be obliged to replace it, and requested that one might be left as a pattern. The reasonable creatures instantly returned a dish and cover. Another time, having completely stripped an English gentleman and his servant, and tied them both to a tree, observing that the man appeared particularly distressed at the loss of his master's spurs, they politely returned and laid the spurs beside the gentleman. About 4 o'clock, though nearly blinded with dust, we once more looked down upon the valley of Mexico, and at 5, during our last change of horses, we were met by Don M. L. del C o, and the English courier, Peraza, who had ridden out to meet us, and accompanied us on their fine horses as far as the Garita. Here we found our carriage waiting, got in and drove through Mexico, dusty as we were, and warlike as we seemed, with guns at the windows. In the Calle San Francisco, the carriage was stopped by Mr. , secretary to the English legation, who invited us to a grand masked and fancy carnival ball to be given on Monday, it being now Saturday. On our return home we found everything in good order. Had some difficulty in procuring ball dresses in time. On Sunday we had a number of people to dinner, by chance, it being Spanish fashion to dine at a friend's house without invitation. This evening we go to the ball. 26th. The ball was in the theatre, and very brilliant, but too many of the first people on these occasions keep their boxes and do not dance, yet it was wonderfully select for so large an assembly. When we arrived, we were led upstairs by some of the commissioners, those who had charge of the ball, to the ease box, whom we found, as usual, elegantly dressed, the married ladies of the family with diamonds, the younger ones in white crape and gold. I had a black silk mask, but finding myself universally recognized, saw no particular advantage in keeping it on, and promptly discarded it. We took a few turns in the ballroom, and afterwards returned to the box. There were some capital figures in masks, and some beautiful ball dresses, and though there were a number of dominoes and odd figures, I could not help remarking the great improvement in toilette which had taken place since the fancy ball of last year. One or two girls, especially the Señorita M., wore ball dresses which could only have proceeded from the fingers of a Parisian modiste. Madame de , dressed as a peasant, and with a mask, was known everywhere by her small foot and pretty figure. But it is impossible to look on at a ball very long, not mingling with it, without growing tired, and not even the numerous visitors to our box could prevent us from feeling much more sleepy than during many a moonlight ride through the lovely lands of tierra caliente. Next night there was a public masked ball, but we did not attend it. We feel much the better for our journey, and only hope that some day C n may have leisure sufficient to enable us to take another ride through some other part of the country. This being near Lent, we shall have no soirées for 6 weeks, though balls are occasionally given during that time of fasting. The house has become very comfortable in the way of servants. Our housekeeper a treasure, the coachman and footman excellent, the cook tolerable, the soldiers rarely tipsy more than once a week, and generally only one at a time, the others decent, so that we have nothing to complain of, has established a hen house near the stable, and any old Indian woman who brings her a manojo, several hens tied together, is sure to be received with open arms. One of our first visits on our return was to Tacubaya, where we were sorry to find the Countess C a very much indisposed, and her courtyard filled with carriages containing visitors making inquiries. I shall now send off my letters by the packet, that you may see we are safely re-established in Mexico. End of letter the 36th.